Hello friends, welcome back in this video session of nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy part 4. In the part 3 we have already seen what is chemical shift and what are the different factors which affect the chemical shift. So the link for that particular session is given in the description box. Go through that. In this particular session we are going to discuss the various aspects. So first is the solvents used in proton NMR or H1 NMR. So usually it is necessary to record the spectra of organic compound in a solution. So if your compound is solid, we usually dissolve that in a particular solvent. And now we are discussing what type of solvents we can use it for recording this proton NMR. So as we are observing the nucleus of the proton, it is very obvious that the solvent which we are going to use, they should be free from this particular proton. Otherwise they will also get recorded in a spectra and it will be very difficult to differentiate between the proton is of solvent or it is of sample. If you have the compound which is non-viscous, you can use it directly as it gives a very sharp peak in NMR spectra. If you have a viscous compounds, usually you need to dilute those with particular solvents. So these solvents are usually aprotic solvents, they are free from proton. So the option of taking or using aprotic solvent is replacing the proton with the deuterium. So we use a deuterated solvents to record an proton NMR. So these deuterated solvents have isotopic purity. It should be a high purity as per as possible, but since because of greater isotopic purity, it usually increase the cost of the solvents. So that to be considered when you are recording in deuterated solvents. And solvent should dissolve at least 10% of the substance under investigation. Okay, so that is another condition. So these are the things what we have to consider whenever we are recording an NMR spectra, especially with the proton NMR. Though nowadays with the sophistication and modernization, people are also taking the NMR spectra in a solid state. So there is a new technique which is called as a solid state NMR. It is being explored, but conventionally or by default we have to take our sample into a solution form. If it is already liquid and if it is not viscous, we can directly record it. If it is viscous, we need to dilute it, and if it is a solid, we have to use appropriate aprotic solvent, usually the deuterated solvents, and then we can record an NMR spectra. So provided that at least 10% of your analyte or sample should get into a solution with this particular solvent. So there are varieties of solvents which are again made commercially available, which are most of the times they are the deuterated. So for example, in this table we can see the acetic acid dash D4. So this D is nothing but the deuterated type of atoms which are replaced by the proton. Then we can see approximate delta for the H1 equivalent as the contaminant. So usually taking utmost purity of this deuterated solvent is quite difficult. So we at somewhat level we can compromise with the purity, and here the levels and where exactly they will be appearing, it is given. Okay, so for proton and C13, for both you can use it, and their boiling points and other constants are given. Okay, so acetone D6, then acetonitrile D3, benzene D6, carbon disulfide, carbon tetrachloride, then deuterated chloroform, deuterium oxide, dimethyl sulfoxide, that is a DMSO D6, then methanol D4, and so on. So these are the various solvents which we can use it for recording an proton NMR. So usually we very frequently use the DMSO and chloroform, deuterated chloroform, because these are the two solvents which dissolve most of our organic compounds, and that's why they are preferred. So all this data is taken from the William Kemp of organic spectroscopy. The next point is the information obtained from H1 or proton NMR. So in some of the question papers we find the question related to what information we can gather by recording an NMR spectra. So these are the points which we can discuss here. So again here I have shown you the NMR spectra of ethanol, where we are finding the 3 sets of protons corresponding to methyl, then CH2 and OH, and there is an internal standard appearing at 0 delta value, that is a tetramethylsilane. So already we have discussed these 3 informations which we can gather from recording an NMR spectra. First is the number of signals. So here I am observing 3 signals, so that means there are 3 sets of protons. Then position of signal, because here CH3 is appearing somewhat near to 1.2, then this is near to 4, and OH is appearing near to 5. So that indicates the exact nature or kinds of protons. So we know in chemical shift the protons appearing in between 0 to 2, usually they are the methyl protons or CH2 protons, right? So based on the position of signal we get what kind of these protons are. Then signal intensity is also important. So here you can see with the red line we have actually integrated these signals or the peaks. So after integration we get the value. Here you can see for CH3 it is 3, then CH2 it is 2. So that actually represent how many protons that particular peak or signal is representing. Then the fourth one, that is a splitting of signals, which is considered as a very important information which we can get from NMR, and because of that we can decide what could be the possible structure of compound. So splitting of signal is giving number of protons in the neighboring carbon atoms. Okay, so here you can see the CH3 protons, the signal has splitted into 3 lines. This is actually not visible here, so we'll show you in the coming slides. So you can consider here this signal is splitted into 3 lines. So this is splitted into 3 lines, so that is indicating the neighboring carbon has 2 protons. Okay, so we'll come into that in the coming slide. Then the last is the coupling constant, that is the J value, or it is also called as a scalar coupling. So this coupling constant gives an information about the arrangement of proton in a particular structure. Okay, so in this particular session we will be discussing about the splitting phenomena. Okay, or it is also called as a spin coupling. So this can be understood by this simple classical example of 1,1,2 trichloroethane. So here by looking at the molecule we can easily make out there are 2 sets of protons in this particular structure. One is CH2 and other one is a CH proton. So obviously I am expecting 2 different signals in a NMR spectra. So that is how it comes. So let's say this CH proton I am assigning it as a proton, type A proton, and CH2 proton I have assigned here as a X type of proton. So obviously I am expecting 2 signals in this particular NMR spectra, and you can look at the type A proton. So here the type A proton, that is a CH proton. So here for CH proton the neighboring carbon has 2 protons, right? So it will be an empirical rule to find out the splitting phenomena, that is n plus 1. So where n is the number of protons in the neighboring carbon atom. So if I want to find out the splitting pattern for this HA, I have to count the number of protons in the neighboring carbon. So this HA is connected to this carbon. So the neighboring carbon is obviously this CH2, which has 2 protons. So the value of n will be 2. Plus 1, it will be 3, and that's why the CH proton or type A proton is going to split into a triplet. Okay, it will be showing a 3-line signal. Similarly, if I consider this X or CH2 proton, for this CH2 the neighboring carbon is this, and this has 1 proton. So the value of n will be 1. 1 plus 1 it will be 2. That's why we can see here there is a doublet. Okay, so 2 lines corresponding to this particular set of proton, so it is appearing as a doublet. Now again the CH proton have appeared towards the downfield region or towards the de-shielded zone. If you remember, we have discussed various factors affecting the chemical shift, and under that there was a factor which is electronegativity. So because of the electronegativity of these two chlorine atoms which are very close to this carbon. So through these carbon it will withdraw the electrons of this hydrogen and it will make this hydrogen more de-shielded. Okay. Similarly, this CH2 also have one chlorine atom, but here there is only one chlorine atom. Additionally, there are two protons. Okay. So that's why this CH2 is slightly more shielded. So that's why it is CH2 is appearing towards the upfield region or towards the shielded zone, whereas CH protons are appearing towards the downfield or de-shielded zone. Okay, so this is called as a spin-spin splitting. Again, we can see here the same rule what we have discussed is written in the text. So the empirical rule what I have told you, that is n+1, and here we should keep in mind the splitting phenomena or the multiplicity is observed in an NMR signal for a group of proton is not related to the number of protons in that particular group. Okay, so that's what we have discussed here. If the CH2 is getting split into a multiple lines, it doesn't depend on how many protons that particular CH2 has. It depends on how many protons in the neighboring carbon it has. So here for CH2 the neighboring carbon has only one proton, so that's why it will be 1 + 1. The CH2 signal is going to split into a doublet, okay, which can be seen here. Whereas CH proton, the neighboring carbon has two protons, okay, so 2 + 1, the CH is going to split into a triplet. So that thing we need to keep in mind. The splitting does not depend on how many protons that particular carbon has, but the number of protons present in the neighboring carbon atoms. Okay, so the neighboring carbon atoms can be one or more than one. That depends on exact structure. So that is thing we need to consider. So if we want to define what is spin-spin splitting, or it is also called as spin-spin coupling, so it is basically a splitting of spectral lines that usually arises because of coupling interaction between the neighboring protons, and that is related to the number of possible spin orientation that these neighbors proton can adopt. So this phenomena we usually refer it as a spin-spin splitting and spin-spin coupling. Okay, so these are the synonyms, and this is very important in finding the structure of a particular compound. Here we have some of the classical examples, again taken from the Donald Pavia of spectroscopy book. So in examination you may get a question, predict the number of signals as well as the multiplicity pattern for a given structure. Okay, so you can take an example of this. The first one, here we have two sets of proton. One is this CH which is connected to 2 chlorine, and other is this CH which is connected to 2 bromine. Okay, so I am expecting here two signals. Okay, and then when we talk about the multiplicity pattern, so this CH, the neighboring carbon is obviously this, it has one proton, so this CH connected to the 2 chlorine will be splitting into a doublet. Similarly, this CH connected to a bromine will be again splitting into a doublet because this neighboring carbon has one proton. When we talk about the position or the chemical shift values of these two protons, because the chlorine is more electronegative, it will withdraw the electron from this hydrogen through this carbon in a very effective way compared to the bromine, which is withdrawing the electrons from this hydrogen through this particular carbon. So obviously the proton connected to this carbon which has 2 chlorine atoms will be more de-shielded and it will appear towards the downfield region compared to the proton attached to the bromine through this particular carbon. So this is coming in a upfield region and this is coming to a downfield region. Similarly, you can see the another example. In this case also there are two sets of proton. One is CH, other one is a CH2. So this CH is connected to 2 chlorine and this CH2 is connected to a 1 chlorine. So obviously this CH2 is towards the shielded, and this CH, because of 2 chlorine atoms, it will be a more de-shielded. Okay, so this CH, the neighboring carbon is obviously this CH2 which has 2 protons. So n+1, that is 2 + 1, so CH is going to split into a triplet. Okay, and appearing towards the downfield region. Here CH2 it is connected to only one chlorine, and then the neighboring carbon has one hydrogen. So 1 plus 1, it will be a doublet and it will be slightly shielded, okay, compared to this CH. So it is coming towards the shielded region or the upfield region. Then take another example, CH2 CH2, okay, but these are not chemically equivalent because for this CH2 we have a bromine and for this CH2 we have a chlorine, okay. So the one which is attached to a chlorine will be more deshielded compared to the one which is attached to a bromine, okay. So here this CH2, the neighboring carbon has 2 protons, so it will be splitted into a triplet. Similarly this will be splitted into a triplet because of 2 protons here. So we will be getting 2 triplets, okay. One is towards the right side, another one is towards the left side. So left side is deshielded one and this is comparatively shielded. Then look at the fourth one. So here we have one methyl proton and one is a CH proton. So in this case, so if we want to find out the splitting pattern for this CH proton, the neighboring carbon has 3 protons, so 3 plus 1, so CH is going to split into a quartet, 4 lines will be there. Similarly CH3, here the neighboring carbon is this which has only 1 proton, so obviously it will be going to split into a doublet, okay. So because of the 3 protons here, and this is not directly connected to a chlorine atoms, so this will be more shielded, it is appearing in the upfield region. Whereas this CH proton, it has only 1 proton and it is also connected to a 2 chlorine atom through this carbon, so it will be more deshielded, okay. Then the fifth one, here we can see chlorine, then CH2 and CH3. So here CH3 will be more shielded and neighboring carbon has 2 protons, so it will be a triplet here. Then CH2, the neighboring carbon has only 3 protons here, so it will be a quartet here, and because of the chlorine it will be more deshielded. Then when we talk about the last example here, so this carbon is connected to 4 different atoms, not 4 different atoms, sorry. So there are 2 methyl and 1 bromine and 1 hydrogen here. So these 2 methyl are equivalent in nature, so there is a chemical equivalence for these 2 methyl protons, so they will give only one signal and the other CH will be giving different signals. So when we talk about the CH proton, this carbon, neighboring carbon which is CH3 of this and the other CH3 here, so they both have 6 protons, so the value of N will be 6 plus 1, it will be a septate, okay, it will be a septate. And because of the bromine attached to this carbon of CH, it will be appearing towards the downfield region, and there will be 7 multiple lines what we can observe in this particular diagram here, okay. And when we see the CH3, because they are chemically equivalent, they are in the same identical environment and the neighboring carbon has only 1 proton, so 1 plus 1, so these 2 CH3 will be giving only one doublet here, okay, and that will be a shielded one, that will be a shielded one, it will be in a upfield region, okay. So we'll see some more examples to understand this particular concept in a more better way. So what is asked? Predict the number of signals and splitting into in the proton NMR spectra. So when we see here this particular structure, this CH3 and this CH3, they are in same chemical environment, okay, because their neighbors are same. You can see this CH3 immediate neighbor is CH2, then next neighbor is CH2 and then CH3. Similarly same case for this CH3, this CH2 is the immediate neighbor, then next neighbor is CH2 and CH3. So these two CH3s are chemically equivalent. Similarly these two CH2s are also chemically equivalent. So here we will expect 2 sets of protons or 2 signals here. And when we talk about the splitting pattern, so here this CH3, the neighboring carbon has 2 protons. Similarly this CH3 neighboring carbon has 2 protons, so it will be a triplet for these 2 CH3 and it will give only one signal of high intensity which you integrate will give 6 protons, and CH2 here, so this CH2 you can see the neighboring carbon is this as well as this. So there are 3 protons here and 2 protons here, so it will be a 5 plus 1. So this CH2 will be giving a sextate, and this CH2 also it will give sextate. So they will club together and give only one sextate, which after integration will give 2 plus 2, that is 4 protons. Then take this second example here. So it is a biphenyl ring. So only aromatic protons are there and both rings are in same identical environment. Okay. So generally when we talk about this type of molecule, they will give only one signal, and there is a multiplicity pattern here. So when we talk about the splitting pattern, usually the aromatic protons are referred as a multiplet. Okay. Then take this particular example here. So this is a benzene ring, then COOH, and here CH3. So obviously we can easily make out here there are 3 sets of proton. One correspond to this carboxylic acid, second correspond to the aromatic protons here, and the third correspond to a methyl protons here. Okay, and when we talk about the splitting pattern here, so this COOH, so here there is no question of neighboring carbon. So here it will be N will be 0, so COOH will be coming as a singlet. Similarly CH3, the neighboring carbon is here and the valency of carbon is fulfilled here, so there is a no proton, so again N will be 0, so it will be a singlet for CH3 as well as for carboxylic acid. And for aromatic protons, as at UG level we directly write it as a multiplet. Okay, but to be very precise, if I consider this aromatic protons of this carbon and this carbon here, so they will be in same identical environment. Similarly this carbon and this particular carbon here in front of that, which is near to methyl, that will be in one environment. Okay, so to be very precise, this aromatic protons, they will give 2 doublets, but in general at this UG level we consider it as a multiplet. Okay, so 3 sets of signals and multiplicity is 2 singlets for COH and CH3 and 1 multiplet for the aromatic protons. Then look at this particular structure here. So how many signals we are expecting, or how many sets of protons? So here obviously there are 3 sets of protons. One is these 3 methyl proton, other one is OH, and the remaining is aromatic protons. So these 3 methyl protons are in same chemical environment. Okay, there is a center of symmetry here. Then OH is in different environment and aromatic proton are in different environment. So when we talk about this splitting pattern of CH3, the neighboring carbon is this, and this doesn't have any proton. Okay, because the carbon valency is fulfilled here. So this CH3 will be giving a singlet. So all these CH3 will club together, it will give only one singlet of high intensity. After integration you will find there are 9H or 9 protons. OH also will be giving a singlet, and then aromatic protons will be appearing as a multiplet here. Look at this particular example here. So this CH3 and this CH3, again they are in same environment, chemical environment, so they will be giving only one signal, and the neighboring carbon is not there, so there is no question of splitting here. So they both will be giving only one singlet of 6H integration, and the remaining will be multiplet for this aromatic proton. So there are 2 signals here what we are expecting for this particular structure. Then look at this last structure, which sounds a bit complicated. So here how many signals we are expecting? So if you see here, this CH3 and this CH3, they are in same chemical environment, so they both together will give only one signal. And you can see here this particular carbon has one H. So at this here there is one H here, so the neighboring carbon of CH3 has one proton, so it will be giving a doublet here. Okay, then here one CH2 and here one CH2, so these 2 CH2s are again in same environment, they are chemically equivalent, so that will be a second signal. Then at the bottom here you can see one pi bond, double bond, so there are 2 CH here, so that will be giving a different signal. So one for these two CH3, one second signal for this CH and this CH, then third for this CH2 here, and the remaining here where there is a double bond, it will be one CH and another CH. Okay, so here we can expect 4 different signals for this particular type of molecule. Okay, so similarly there are some other examples. I think you can solve this, and you can try to find out the answers for this. If you are not able to solve, or you can just put your comments in the comment box. We'll try to address those. Then next is the theory of spin splitting, or it is also called as spin coupling. So here I have given an example of cinnamic acid. So how many signals we expect for this cinnamic acid? So for cinnamic acid we can find there are aromatic protons, then there is a CH proton here, then one more CH proton here, and this CH proton is connected to a carboxylic acid here, and this CH proton is connected to aromatic ring here. So this CH and this CH are in different environment because their neighbors are different. Okay, and then OH of this carboxylic acid. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. So we are expecting 4 sets of protons or signals in an NMR spectra. And when we actually record the NMR spectra, so this is how exactly the signal looks like. When we talk about the splitting pattern, so I told you the aromatic protons usually appear as a multiplate. Okay, and in between they appear 6 to 8.5. So these are the aromatic protons what we are observing here. Then CH proton here. So the neighboring carbon here of aromatic ring doesn't have any proton. So this side we have one proton. So this CH is going to appear as a doublet. Similarly, this CH which is connected to a carboxylic acid, the neighboring carbon is this which doesn't have any proton. Here it has one proton, so this CH is also going to split into a doublet, whereas this OH is not going to split because it doesn't have any protons in the neighboring carbon. Actually it is connected to oxygen, so it will be a singlet here. Okay, so usually the carboxylic acid proton usually appear in between 10.5 to 12. So here you can see the COH in the down figure. Okay, and then these CHX, we are referring it as a type X proton and type A proton. They will be giving 2 different doublets. So one doublet is appearing near to aromatic region here because of the de-shielded one. So this HX proton of this, because it is connected to aromatic ring, it is in the de-shielded zone, that's why it is appearing here. And the proton connected to a carboxylic acid here, this will be a shielded proton compared to this HX. So this HA is appearing, you can see, near to this. Okay, now the question is, these 2 CH proton, why they have splitted into a doublet? So why there is a spin splitting or coupling? Okay, so we need to see the theoretical aspect of this spin splitting or spin coupling. So here this CHA and CHX, we are considering these 2 protons. They are also referred as a vicinal protons. Okay, so this HA is going to split into a doublet because again neighboring carbon has one proton. Same way this HX, again neighboring carbon is this, it has one proton, so it will be splitting into a doublet. So you can see here HX has splitted into a doublet. Similarly HA has splitted into a doublet. So why these protons are going to split into a multiplate or multiple lines? So to understand that, we need to see this particular theoretical aspect with this particular example. Okay, so again we have taken same example. So this is 2 sets of proton here, one is a CH and other one is a CH2. Now in this case what is happening, if I want to analyze the CH2 protons, so CH2 proton is splitting into a doublet because this carbon has one proton here. So what exactly happens in theory, as we have seen in case of spin splitting, the multiplicity pattern doesn't depend on the number of protons in that particular set, but it depends on the number of protons the neighboring carbon atom has. So for that CH2, the neighboring carbon has one proton, and that's why the CH2 signal has splitted into a doublet here. Okay, now what exactly happens when we take this molecule and when we record an NMR spectra? We know under the influence of B0, the nucleus of the proton will either remain aligned or either it opposed to the applied magnetic field. Okay, so either it could be a parallel to the applied magnetic field B0 or it could be a anti-parallel to the applied magnetic field B0. So what exactly happening here, the neighboring proton of this CH2 here, this H proton, CH proton, so this H proton can take two possible orientation under the influence of applied magnetic field B0. So this CH proton can either align themselves to the B0 or it can be anti-parallel or diamagnetic to a applied magnetic field B0. Okay, so in fact in reality it does both. So it will be parallel to the magnetic field of B0, so this CH2 proton, and it can be anti-parallel to the applied magnetic field. Okay, so what is happening here, because of that when it is parallel, it will be parallel to the applied magnetic field. Okay, so they will be de-shielded. If it is anti-parallel to the applied magnetic field, it will be a shielded, and it is doing both. So that's why there are no single line, but there will be two lines here which we refer it as a doublet. Okay, so proton A here, this is a proton, so this is appearing as a doublet and not a singlet. Okay, so it is going to split into two lines, and these are the two lines here. Similarly, if I see the CH proton, the neighboring carbon atom has two protons. So these two protons under the influence of applied magnetic field can take various possible orientations. So both of these protons can be parallel to the applied magnetic field. So in that case the CH proton will be more de-shielded, okay, because they are not helping them, and in turn this CH proton cannot protect themselves in a strong way from the applied magnetic field. Okay, so if I consider here these two protons, both are parallel to the applied magnetic field B0. So these two arrows represent these two protons which are neighboring to this CH. So both are parallel. Okay, so they will be shielding this proton, sorry, they will be de-shielding this proton. Okay, then another possibility is that these two protons with respect to this CH and applied magnetic field, so one proton can be parallel and other can be anti-parallel. Similarly, the first proton can be anti-parallel and the next can be parallel. So you can see the net magnetic effect will be 0 with respect to this CH. So this is the center line is the actual position of this CH proton, because they are neither helping nor opposing to this particular CH. Okay, so the net effect of B0 will be taken by the CH proton. So this is a center line and there are these two possibilities, and together it is a net magnetic field here given by the CH2 proton is 0. And the third possibility is that both these CH2 proton can remain anti-parallel, they can oppose to the external magnetic field, which in turn they will be helping this CH proton, and it is protecting themselves from this B0, which is making them into a shielded zone. Okay, so that is how we expect 3 lines for CH proton. Okay, and here it depends on number of possible orientation which the neighboring protons are going to adopt. So CH2 here are adopting 3 different possible orientation. In one case both can be parallel. In the second case first and second can be first one can be parallel, second can be anti-parallel. And the other case the first can be anti-parallel, second can be parallel. So the overall effect will be 0 here. and in the third possibility both can remain anti-parallel. Okay, so here it will be in a shielded zone, and if they are both are parallel, it will not help the CH proton and it will take into a de-shielded zone. So how to predict the splitting pattern that we have understood by n+1 rule. Then additionally the splitting line will have a particular intensity. So if you talk about the doublet, usually we have seen they are appearing in equal intensity. Okay, so that is 1:1, but if you see here a triplet, the intensity is different. Okay, so this is less intense, first and third line, and the center line is almost double of the first one. So this is how we can use Pascal's triangle, and this simplifies the intensity pattern of these multiplets. So if it is a singlet, there is no question of multiple lines. In that case n is 0, there are no neighboring protons. If you talk about a doublet, the neighboring carbon has one proton, so it will be splitting into a doublet and the intensity of line is 1:1. If it is a triplet, neighboring carbon has two protons, 2 plus 1, it will be a triplet, so it will be 1:2:1. That's what we have seen here for CH proton. So it has splitted into a triplet here, and the intensity is given at the bottom of that peak. It is 1:2:1. Similarly for quartet, you can see here neighboring carbon has 3 protons, so it is 1:3:3:1. Then quintet and sextet. Okay, so we can continue to build on this particular Pascal triangle, and we can predict the line intensities what we are observing in an NMR spectra. Thanks for watching.